They called us soft meat, easy prey, a species so weak that we needed tools to survive, so fragile that we couldn't even breathe in most environments without artificial help. The Vorthak had hunted across 17 galaxies, collecting trophies from 1,000 worlds. They had never encountered a species that fought back effectively. They were wrong. What the Vorthak didn't understand was that humans weren't just another prey species. We were the apex predators of Earth, a death world so hostile that it had forged us in fire, flood, ice, and blood for millions of years. We didn't just survive, we thrived by becoming the most efficient killers our planet had ever produced. When their hunting ships darkened our skies, they expected terror. Instead, they found something they had never encountered in their millennia of galactic slaughter, a species that hunted back. This is the story of how the hunters became the hunted, and how humanity taught the galaxy what true predators look like. Commander Zextai stretched his 4 muscular arms as he reviewed the data about their next hunting ground. His species, the Vorthak, stood nearly 9 feet tall with chitinous armor covering their bodies and razor-sharp claws that could slice through metal. Their red eyes gleamed with predatory satisfaction as he examined the holographic display showing a blue-green world orbiting a yellow star. Earth, he rumbled, his voice like grinding stone. Third planet in what the locals call the Sol System. His hunting pack gathered around the display, their excitement palpable. Krivor, his second-in-command, clicked her mandibles together in anticipation. The preliminary scans show promising prey, Commander. They call themselves humans. Bipedal, no natural armor, no claws or fangs worth mentioning. They rely entirely on crude tools. Zextai's laugh was a terrifying sound that had been the last thing countless beings across the galaxy had heard. Soft meat that thinks metal can protect them. How delightfully naive. He manipulated the display, zooming in on various human settlements. Look at how they cluster together in these structures they call cities, like livestock penning themselves for slaughter. The hunting ship, a massive vessel designed for both intimidation and efficiency, housed 2,000 Vorthak warriors. Each was a perfect killing machine, evolved over millions of years on a harsh world where only the strongest survived. Their ancestors had been apex predators before they developed spaceflight, and they had never lost their hunting instincts. Intelligence reports indicate they have primitive weapons, reported Thakmor, the ship's tactical officer. Chemical propellants that fire small metal projectiles. Explosive devices. Nothing that can penetrate our armor or match our natural speed and strength. Zetai not det aboving. Standard hunting protocols then. We establish a perimeter around their major population centers, eliminate their military capabilities, and begin the harvest. The young ones will make excellent trophies, and the adults will provide sport before we add their skulls to our collections. For 3 days, the Vorthak ship remained cloaked in Earth's orbit, gathering intelligence. They monitored human communications, mapped military installations, and identified key leaders. Everything confirmed their initial assessment. Humans were a weak species that had somehow managed to develop basic technology despite their obvious physical limitations. The humans seemed completely unaware of the threat hanging above their world. They went about their daily routines, working in their cities, tending their crops, playing their simple games. They showed no signs of the heightened awareness that usually indicated a species with predatory instincts. They don't even post proper sentries. Krivor observed with amusement as she watched feeds from Earth's surface. Look at them wandering around in the open, making noise, showing no concern for potential threats. They've grown soft and complacent. What the Vorthak couldn't understand from their orbital observations was the true nature of human development. They saw the peaceful cities and mistook civilization for weakness. They observed humans working together and interpreted cooperation as vulnerability. Most critically, they completely missed the significance of human military installations and the deadly efficiency of human weapons technology. The first strike came at dawn on a Tuesday morning. Vorthack drop ships, sleek and predatory in design, descended through Earth's atmosphere like falling meteors. They targeted major cities simultaneously: New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing. The plan was simple and had worked on countless worlds: demonstrate overwhelming superiority, shatter organized resistance, and begin the hunt. In New York, the first dropship landed in Central Park with a thunderous crash that shattered windows for blocks around. The loading bay opened with a hiss of alien atmosphere, and Zextai stepped out, flanked by 50 of his finest warriors. Their armor gleamed in the morning sun, and their weapons hummed with deadly energy. The humans nearby reacted exactly as expected. They screamed, they ran, they panicked. Some tried to capture images with their primitive communication devices instead of fleeing, which only confirmed Vorthack assumptions about human intelligence. "Attention, inhabitants of this world." Zextai's voice boomed across the city, amplified by his ship's communication system and translated into the local language. "I am Commander Zextai of the Vorthack hunting fleet. Your species has been selected for the Great Hunt. Resist, and your deaths will be swift. Hide, and your deaths will be prolonged. The choice is yours, but death is inevitable." The initial human response seemed to confirm every Vorthack expectation. Police officers arrived and fired their small projectile weapons, which bounced harmlessly off Vorthack armor. Military vehicles appeared, but their weapons were equally ineffective. Within hours, the Vorthack had established control zones around each landing site, and human resistance appeared to be collapsing. But something was wrong. The humans weren't behaving like typical prey species. Instead of fleeing in all directions and abandoning their settlements, they were organizing. Communication networks that should have been easily disrupted were somehow maintaining functionality. Military units that should have been scattered and demoralized were instead conducting organized withdrawals while maintaining communication with higher command. In a bunker deep beneath the Pentagon, General Sarah Morrison watched the invasion unfold on multiple screens. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her steel-blue eyes showed no fear, only cold calculation. Around her, the most brilliant military minds on Earth worked frantically to analyze the threat and coordinate a response. Initial assessment, she asked her chief of staff. Colonel James Park, a veteran of 3 wars, studied the incoming reports. "They're strong and well-armored, but they're following predictable patterns. Classic shock and tactics designed to break morale and scatter resistance. The problem is they're treating this like a hunt rather than a military operation." Explain. "They're not trying to hold territory or establish lasting control. They're looking for sport. This isn't an invasion. It's a game to them. That might give us an advantage." General Morrison nodded slowly. "Give me a direct line to every major military command on the planet. If these things want to hunt humans, they're about to learn what happens when you corner a predator." Meanwhile, in Central Park, Zextai was beginning to feel the first stirrings of unease. His warriors had fanned out across the city, expecting to find cowering humans ready for harvest. Instead, they found empty streets and abandoned buildings. The humans had vanished with remarkable efficiency, leaving behind only the echo of their presence. "Report," he demanded from Crevor, who was leading a patrol through Manhattan's financial district. "The prey has gone aground, Commander. They've evacuated the obvious targets and taken shelter in structures designed for this purpose. It's almost as if they were prepared for our arrival." Zextai's mandibles clicked in irritation. "Impossible. Our arrival was undetected. They couldn't have known we were coming." But even as he spoke, he knew something was different about these humans. Most species they hunted either fought desperately and died quickly or scattered in panic and were picked off one by one. These humans were doing neither. They were adapting. The first sign that this hunt would be unlike any other came 12 hours after the initial landing. Vorthack patrol units began reporting strange incidents. Warriors would enter buildings to flush out hiding humans, only to trigger carefully placed explosive traps. The explosions weren't powerful enough to kill a Vorthack warrior, but they were positioned to cause maximum disorientation and confusion. Then came the snipers. Human marksmen positioned in tall buildings and concealed locations began targeting Vorthack warriors with precision shots. Their primitive projectile weapons still couldn't penetrate Vorthack armor, but the humans weren't aiming for center mass. Instead, they targeted joints, vision slits, and weapon ports with uncanny accuracy. How are they doing this? Krivor demanded as her patrol took cover behind overturned vehicles. Projectiles whistled past their heads with mechanical precision. Their weapons are inferior, but they're fighting like they understand our weaknesses. The answer was both simple and terrifying. Humans had been studying the Vorthack from the moment their ship appeared in orbit. While the aliens had spent 3 days observing what they thought was a primitive species, Earth's greatest minds had been analyzing every detail of Vorthack technology, biology, and tactics. Dr. Elizabeth Chun, a xenobiologist working with a team at MIT, had identified potential weak points in Vorthack anatomy within hours of the first clear images. Look at the joint structures, she pointed out to her colleagues. They're incredibly strong, but that strength comes from rigid connections. If you can damage the joint itself, you can immobilize an entire limb. Military engineers had immediately begun modifying existing weapons and developing new ones. If conventional ammunition couldn't penetrate Vorthack armor, they would use armor-piercing rounds. If those weren't enough, they would target the gaps and joints. If single shots weren't effective, they would use concentrated fire. But the most important realization came from an unlikely source. Dr. Marcus Webb, an anthropologist, was studying video footage of Vorthack behavior when he noticed something crucial. They're predators, he told the assembled military leaders. But they're not pack hunters like humans. Look at their formation patterns, their communication methods. They're solitary hunters who occasionally cooperate, but they don't have the same group dynamics that humans do. They're strong individually, but they don't coordinate like we do. General Morrison saw the implications immediately. They hunt like lions or tigers, powerful individual predators. But humans hunt like wolves. We coordinate, we plan, we work together to take down prey that's stronger than any individual hunter. The realization transformed Earth's defensive strategy. Instead of trying to match Vorthack strength with strength, human forces began using their greatest advantage: intelligence and cooperation. By the end of the first day, Vorthack commanders across the globe were reporting similar problems. Human resistance was increasing rather than decreasing. Worse, the humans were learning and adapting at an alarming rate. Each encounter provided them with more information about Vorthack capabilities and weaknesses. In Tokyo, a Vorthack hunting party found themselves trapped in a subway tunnel system that had been converted into a maze of kill zones. Every turn brought new traps, new ambushes, new tactics designed to isolate and overwhelm individual warriors. In London, human forces used the city's ancient tunnel system to appear and disappear like ghosts, striking at Vorthack patrols and vanishing before reinforcements could arrive. In Moscow, the humans had turned the harsh winter weather into an ally, using snow and ice to obscure visibility and slow Vorthack movement, while human forces, equipped with cold weather gear, maintained their mobility and effectiveness. But it was in New York that the most significant development occurred. As Zextai led a patrol through the abandoned streets of Lower Manhattan, searching for the source of the continuing sniper attacks, he walked into a trap that would change everything. The attack came from 6 directions simultaneously. Humans emerged from sewers, buildings, and concealed positions, all armed with modified weapons designed specifically to exploit Vorthack weaknesses. But these weren't random civilians or even regular military forces. These were special operations soldiers, the most elite human warriors, trained in tactics and equipped with gear that the Vorthack had never encountered. Sergeant First Class Maria Rodriguez moved with fluid grace as she targeted the joint connecting Zextai's primary weapon arm to his body. Her modified rifle fired a specially designed round that expanded on impact, wedging into the joint and making the limb unusable. Around her, her team executed their plan with mechanical precision. Zextai roared in pain and fury as his weapon clattered to the ground. In 3 centuries of hunting, no prey species had ever managed to wound him. The shock was almost as painful as the injury itself. His warriors, equally stunned, tried to respond, but the humans had already vanished back into the urban landscape. For the first time in Vorthack history, a hunting commander had been wounded by his prey. As night fell on the first day of what the Vorthack had expected to be a simple harvest, commanders across the globe sent increasingly troubling reports to the mothership. Human resistance was not only continuing, but intensifying. More disturbing still, the humans showed no signs of the despair and hopelessness that usually marked the beginning of the end for a prey species. Instead, intercepts of human communications revealed something unprecedented. The humans were excited. Contact confirmed came one transmission that Vorthack linguists translated. Target assessment complete. Initiating Phase 2 hunting protocols. Phase 2 hunting protocols. The prey was using hunting terminology. In the depths of NORAD, General Morrison reviewed the day's reports with grim satisfaction. The initial shock of alien contact was wearing off, and humanity was beginning to do what it did best: adapt and overcome. Casualties? She asked. Lower than projected, Colonel Park reported. The evacuation protocols worked better than expected. Civilian casualties are minimal, and military losses are within acceptable parameters. More importantly, we've gathered enough data to begin implementing specific countermeasures. On the screens around them, real-time feeds showed human forces across the globe preparing for the next phase of operations. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock to develop new weapons and tactics. Military units drilled with equipment specifically designed to exploit newly discovered Vorthack weaknesses. Most importantly, the global communication network was coordinating humanity's response in ways the Vorthack couldn't comprehend. Phase 2 authorization? Colonel Park asked. General Morrison's smile was cold and predatory. Authorized. Let's show them what happens when you try to hunt an apex predator. Across the planet, humanity prepared to reveal its true nature. The Vorthack had come to Earth expecting to find easy prey. Instead, they had awakened something that had slept beneath the surface of human civilization for millennia. The instincts of the most successful predatory species in Earth's history. The real hunt was about to begin, and this time, humans would be the hunters. The second day of what history would call the Vorthack War began with a sound that chilled alien blood across 5 continents. The howl of human hunting horns echoing through empty cities. Commander Zextai stood in his temporary command post in Central Park, his wounded arm bound in alien medical wrapping that pulsed with biohealing compounds. Around him, his subordinates reported increasingly disturbing developments from hunting zones worldwide. The bandage was a constant reminder of something impossible. Prey had wounded a Vorthack commander. Sir, the humans have completely altered their tactics overnight, Krivor reported, her voice betraying uncertainty for the first time in her century of military service. They're no longer retreating or hiding. They're advancing on our positions. Zextai's red eyes narrowed. Advancing? Impossible. No prey species has ever gone on the offensive against a Vorthack hunting party. The tactical display showed the situation clearly. Red dots representing Vorthack forces were increasingly surrounded by blue dots marking human military units. But these weren't the scattered, desperate forces they had encountered on the first day. These formations moved with purpose and coordination that spoke of careful planning and professional military doctrine. Dr. Sarah Kim, a military strategist working with the Joint Chiefs, had spent the night developing what she called the persistence protocol. Studying hours of footage from the first day's encounters, she had identified the key weakness in Vorthack psychology. They were hunters, not soldiers. They think in terms of individual prowess and dominance, she explained to assemble commanders via encrypted video link. They expect their prey to run or cower. They have no experience dealing with organized, aggressive resistance. We're going to use that against them. The first demonstration of this new approach came in Beijing, where Colonel Zhang Wei had prepared a textbook example of human tactical thinking. His forces had spent the night setting up what appeared to be a desperate last stand around the Forbidden City. Vorthack sensors detected what seemed like a concentration of human forces making their final stand in the ancient complex. Thakvor, the Vorthack field commander in Beijing, saw the opportunity immediately. They've trapped themselves in an indefensible position, he reported to his pack leaders. We can surround them and eliminate this pocket of resistance in a single assault. What the Vorthack couldn't detect was that the trapped humans were volunteers equipped with holographic projectors and signal amplifiers, creating the illusion of a much larger force. The real human army was positioned in carefully concealed positions throughout the city, waiting for the aliens to commit to their attack. When 300 Vorthack warriors converged on the Forbidden City, they found only empty buildings and sophisticated decoys. But they also found themselves in the center of a kill zone that human forces had spent 12 hours preparing. The attack came from everywhere at once. Sniper teams on distant buildings targeted officers and communications equipment. Explosives that had been carefully placed in the ancient underground tunnels beneath the complex detonated in sequence, creating chaos and confusion. Most importantly, human forces used their superior numbers and coordination to isolate small groups of Vorthack warriors and overwhelm them with concentrated firepower. For the first time in their species' history, Vorthack warriors found themselves outgunned and outmaneuvered by their prey. Sergeant Lu Ming led a squad of Chinese special forces as they cornered 3 Vorthack warriors in a narrow alley between ancient buildings. The aliens' superior individual strength and armor meant nothing in the confined space, especially when Lu's team attacked from multiple levels using tactics developed specifically for fighting larger, stronger opponents. Targeting joints and weapon systems, Lu called to his team as they fired in coordinated volleys. Keep them separated and confused. The engagement lasted less than 3 minutes. When it was over, 3 Vorthack warriors lay dead, and Lu's team had suffered no casualties. More importantly, they had proven that with proper tactics and equipment, humans could kill Vorthack warriors in direct combat. The psychological impact on the surviving aliens was devastating. Warriors who had never experienced defeat suddenly found themselves facing an enemy that not only could hurt them, but actively sought them out for combat. In London, Major James Crawford of the SAS had taken a different approach. Instead of large-scale engagements, his teams had begun what he called persistence hunting, small unit actions designed to harass and demoralize Vorthack forces continuously. We're going to hunt them the way our ancestors hunted mammoths, Crawford explained to his men. We don't try to kill them in single combat. We wear them down, stress them out, and attack them when they're vulnerable. Human teams began following Vorthack patrols, staying just out of sight, but making their presence known. They would take single shots from extreme range, not to kill, but to keep the aliens constantly aware they were being stalked. They would trigger small explosions and ambushes that did minimal damage, but maximum psychological impact. Most effectively, they used sound warfare, amplified recordings of human voices, predatory animal calls, and industrial noises that kept Vorthack forces from ever feeling safe or rested. The Vorthack had never encountered anything like persistence hunting. Their own hunting methods relied on strength, speed, and intimidation. The concept of wearing down prey through psychological pressure and constant harassment was completely alien to their experience. They never stop, reported Crevor from London after her patrol had endured 18 hours of constant low-level harassment. Every time we think we've lost them, they appear again. They're not trying to defeat us in direct combat. They're trying to drive us insane. But It was in New York that humanity revealed its most terrifying capability. General Morrison had authorized Operation Apex, a demonstration designed to show the Vorthack exactly what kind of species they had chosen to hunt. The operation began at dawn on the second day, when human forces simply walked out into the open in Times Square. 500 soldiers from elite units around the world stood in formation in the middle of the abandoned square, making no attempt to hide or seek cover. They waited. Zextai, still nursing his wounded arm, saw the opportunity immediately. 500 humans standing in the open like cattle waiting for slaughter. We'll take our entire force and eliminate them in a single glorious battle. This will break their spirit once and for all. What the Vorthack commander didn't understand was that the humans weren't making a desperate last stand. They were setting a trap that used the aliens' own psychology against them. Every Vorthack warrior in New York, nearly 600 aliens, converged on Times Square for what they expected would be a massacre. They came on foot and in their atmospheric craft, weapons charged, and ready for the slaughter that would end human resistance in the city. The soldiers in Times Square didn't move as the aliens approached. They stood in perfect formation, weapons at the ready, but not raised in a threatening manner. Their leader, Colonel Sarah Hassan, had volunteered to be the bait in humanity's most dangerous gambit. All Vorthack forces, this is Commander Zextai. The alien's translated voice boomed across the square. You have shown courage by facing us openly. As a gesture of respect for worthy prey, I offer you the chance to surrender. Your deaths will be swift and honorable. Colonel Hassan stepped forward, removing her helmet so the aliens could see her face clearly. Her voice, amplified by speakers hidden throughout the square, carried clearly to every Vorthack warrior. Commander Zextai, she said, her tone conversational, we appreciate the offer. But we have a counter-proposal. She raised her hand, and throughout Times Square, massive screens that had been dark since the invasion suddenly blazed to life. The images they showed made every Vorthack warrior freeze in horror. The screens displayed live feeds from hunting zones around the world. In Beijing, Vorthack bodies lay scattered in the ruins of their failed assault. In London, alien warriors cowered in buildings while human hunters stalked them through the streets. In Moscow, Vorthack forces were surrendering rather than face continued human attacks. But the most devastating image was from Sydney, where human forces had captured a Vorthack dropship intact. Australian engineers were already studying its systems, and the implications were clear. Humans were not just fighting back. They were learning, adapting, and improving their capabilities in real time. You came here to hunt us, Colonel Hassan continued, her voice carrying an edge that made seasoned Vorthack warriors step backward involuntarily. You expected to find weak prey that would cower and flee. Instead, you found the most successful predatory species in this planet's history. She gestured to the screens, showing global battlefields. We've studied you for 2 days. We know your weaknesses, your tactics, your psychology. We know how you think, how you fight, and how you die. More importantly, we've shared that information with every human military force on Earth. The Colonel's smile was predatory in a way that no prey species expression should ever be. You're no longer the hunters here. You're the hunted. The screens shifted to show new images. Massive human military formations moving into position around every Vorthack landing site on Earth. Tank divisions, artillery batteries, air support, and special operations teams, all equipped with weapons specifically modified to kill Vorthack warriors. But the most terrifying sight was the sheer number of humans involved in the operation. Millions of soldiers, but also millions of civilians who had volunteered to join what humanity was calling the Great Hunt. Every human settlement on Earth had become a fortress, every civilian a potential threat, every city a trap waiting to be sprung. Zextai felt something he had never experienced in 3 centuries of hunting: genuine fear. This is impossible, he whispered. Prey doesn't behave this way. Colonel Hassan heard him clearly through the translation systems. That's your mistake, Commander. You never bothered to learn what humans really are. We're not prey. We're apex predators. And you just declared war on the most dangerous species our planet ever produced. She raised her weapon, not in threat, but in salute. Welcome to Earth. Welcome to the top of the food chain. The battle that followed lasted 6 hours and became known as the Times Square Massacre. Though it was the Vorthak who were massacred. Human forces had turned the entire area into a carefully planned kill zone, using their superior numbers, coordination, and intimate knowledge of the terrain to devastating effect. More importantly, the battle was broadcast live to every human settlement on Earth, and the recordings were transmitted beyond the planet to the Vorthak mothership. Humanity wanted every alien in the galaxy to see what happened when someone tried to hunt humans on their home world. The Vorthak fought bravely, but bravery without adaptation is merely a path to extinction. Their individual strength and superior equipment meant nothing against human tactics that had been developed over thousands of years of warfare against other humans. The most dangerous prey imaginable. By the end of the second day, the situation on Earth had completely reversed. Vorthak hunting parties were trapped in isolated pockets, surrounded by human forces that showed no mercy and gave no quarter. The aliens' communication with their mothership had been severed by human cyber warfare specialists who had cracked their encryption codes with terrifying efficiency. Worse still, reports from around the globe showed that humans weren't content with simple victory. They were studying captured Vorthak technology, interrogating prisoners, and learning everything they could about the alien civilization and capabilities. Dr. Elizabeth Chun, working with captured Vorthak biosamples, made a discovery that chilled military leaders worldwide. They're not just randomly hunting, she reported to the Emergency Council. This is organized. They have a whole civilization built around hunting other species for sport. Earth isn't their first target, it's just their latest. General Morrison studied the implications. How many other species? Hundreds, maybe thousands. They've been doing this for millennia, traveling from world to world, harvesting intelligent species for trophies and sport. The revelation transformed the conflict from a battle for Earth's survival into something much larger, a war to end the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. In the depths of space, aboard the Vorthak mothership, Supreme Commander Vexthal reviewed the reports from Earth with growing alarm. His species had encountered setbacks before, but never anything like this. Prey species were supposed to diminish under pressure, not grow stronger and more dangerous. Sir, his chief intelligence officer reported, the humans have developed weapons specifically designed to kill our warriors. More disturbing, they appear to be reverse engineering our technology. Their adaptation rate is unprecedented. Vexthal's 4 arms clicked nervously against his command throne. In the background, displays showed the location of dozens of other Vorthak hunting fleets scattered across the galaxy, all engaged in similar harvesting operations on other worlds. How long before they can threaten our ship? He asked. Unknown, sir. But their technological advancement in just 2 days suggests they may develop spaceflight capability within weeks or months. The Supreme Commander made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his short life. Send a recall signal. All hunting parties are to return to their ships immediately. We evacuate Earth and establish a perimeter. If the humans want to play at being predators, we'll show them what real predators can do. But as the recall signal transmitted to Earth, human interceptors caught and decoded it within minutes. The message was relayed to military commands around the world, where strategists immediately understood its significance. The aliens were retreating. The hunters were running from their prey. Colonel Hassan, now promoted to General Hassan for her role in the Times Square operation, smiled as she read the intercepted message. Around her, human forces were already preparing for the next phase of operations. Sir, her aide asked, should we allow them to evacuate? General Hassan's expression was the same predatory smile that had terrified Zextai. Absolutely not. They came here to hunt us. Now we're going to hunt them. She turned to her communications officer. Send a message to every human military force on the planet. The aliens are trying to retreat to their ships. That's not going to happen. Today, we're going hunting. Across Earth, humanity prepared for the next phase of what was no longer a defensive action. The Vorthak had awakened something in human nature that had slept beneath civilization for millennia. The instincts of a species that had conquered an entire planet not through strength or natural weapons, but through intelligence, cooperation, and an absolutely ruthless determination to survive and dominate. The Great Hunt was about to begin in earnest, and this time, humans would be the predators. The third day of the war began with humanity's greatest gamble, Operation Icarus. As Vorthak forces across the planet received orders to retreat to their mothership, human scientists and engineers worked frantically to turn captured alien technology into weapons that could reach space. Dr. Michael Torres, a propulsion specialist at NASA, stared at the dissected remains of a Vorthak atmospheric fighter that had been shot down over Los Angeles. Around him, the brightest minds from every space agency on Earth worked to unlock the secrets of alien technology in a matter of hours rather than the years such research would normally require. The power source is some kind of contained antimatter reaction, he reported to General Morrison via secure video link. Incredibly efficient, but also incredibly dangerous, if we can figure out how to adapt it to our existing missile systems. How long? Morrison interrupted. Give us 6 hours. Maybe 8. You have 4. The general cut the connection and turned to her staff. Around her, NORAD's command center had been transformed into the nerve center for humanity's first interplanetary military operation. Screens showed real-time feeds from battlefields around the world, where human forces were systematically hunting down retreating Vorthak units with relentless efficiency. But the real target was hanging in orbit, the massive Vorthak mothership that had brought this nightmare to Earth. Colonel Park approached with the latest tactical assessment. Estimates put their ship at roughly 3 kilometers long, heavily armed and armored. Traditional Earth-based weapons can't reach orbital altitude with sufficient power to penetrate their defenses. What about unconventional weapons? That's where it gets interesting. Park pulled up a new display showing proposed attack vectors. Dr. Chen's biological analysis suggests that Vorthak physiology is particularly vulnerable to certain types of electromagnetic interference, if we can generate a powerful enough pulse. Meanwhile, on the streets of New York, the hunt for retreating Vorthak forces had taken on an almost ritualistic quality. Human soldiers moved through the city with the methodical precision of persistent hunters, tracking their prey with technologies that would have seemed like magic to their ancestors. Sergeant Rodriguez led her squad through the abandoned subway tunnels, where thermal imaging had detected a group of 20 Vorthak warriors attempting to reach their extraction point. The aliens had superior individual combat abilities, but in the confined tunnels, their advantages meant nothing against human tactical coordination. Remember, she whispered to her team, they're trying to run. That means they're scared. Scared prey makes mistakes. The ambush came at the intersection of 3 tunnel lines, where Rodriguez's team had spent an hour setting up overlapping fields of fire. When the Vorthak warriors entered the kill zone, they found themselves facing concentrated firepower from multiple directions, with no escape routes and no room to use their superior mobility. But what made the engagement truly terrifying from the alien perspective wasn't the tactical efficiency, it was the complete lack of mercy shown by the human hunters. The soldiers showed no more emotion while killing Vorthak warriors than they would while hunting deer. Target down, Rodriguez reported in the same tone she might use to order coffee. Moving to next position, above ground. Similar scenes played out in every major city on Earth. Human forces had adapted so completely to hunting Vorthak warriors that what had been a desperate defensive action 48 hours earlier had become something approaching a routine military exercise. Commander Zextai, his wounded arm now causing constant pain despite alien medical treatment, led the last significant Vorthak force in Manhattan as they fought their way toward their extraction point in Central Park. Around him, his warriors, once proud apex predators, moved with the nervous haste of hunted animals. Sir, Krivor reported. We've lost contact with 7 other units attempting to reach extraction zones. Human forces appear to have anticipated all our retreat routes. Zextai's mandibles clicked in frustration. 3 days earlier, he had been confident in his species' supremacy. Now, he was beginning to understand what every prey species in the galaxy had learned too late. Humans didn't just fight to survive. They fought to win completely and permanently. The realization hit him as his force entered the park where their dropship waited. The area was completely silent, with no sign of human forces. But silence from species of pursuit predators wasn't reassuring. It was terrifying. "It's a trap," he whispered, but it was already too late. The attack came from every direction at once, but it wasn't the chaotic assault the Vorthack had learned to expect from desperate prey. This was a carefully orchestrated operation designed by minds that understood both warfare and hunting with an intimacy no other species in the galaxy possessed. Human snipers, positioned in buildings around the park, began targeting specific Vorthack warriors based on detailed intelligence about alien command structure and capabilities. The shots weren't random. Each bullet was aimed at a specific target for a specific tactical purpose. Explosive charges planted throughout the park during the previous night detonated in sequence to herd the alien forces into predetermined kill zones. The blasts weren't intended to cause casualties. They were designed to control movement and create psychological pressure. Most terrifyingly, human forces used sound warfare on a scale the Vorthack had never encountered. Loudspeakers hidden throughout the area broadcast recordings of Vorthack death screams, captured during previous engagements, and amplified to volumes that could be heard for miles. "They're using our own voices against us," Krivor gasped as she tried to maintain formation while under constant fire. But the true horror of the situation became clear when Zextai realized that the humans weren't trying to kill all of his warriors. They were selectively eliminating specific targets while deliberately allowing others to escape toward the drop ship. "They're hurting us," he realized with growing dread, "just like we herd our prey." The final phase of the ambush came when the surviving Vorthack warriors reached their transport. The ship was intact and operational, but as they climbed aboard, they discovered that human infiltrators had been waiting inside. The close-quarters battle that followed was brief and brutal. In the confined space of their own ship, Vorthack advantages in reach and strength were neutralized, while human advantages in tactical coordination and situational awareness proved decisive. When the fighting ended, Commander Zextai found himself face-to-face with General Hassan, who had personally led the infiltration team. The human woman looked at him with the same expression he had seen on countless predators throughout the galaxy, the cold satisfaction of a successful hunter studying captured prey. "Commander," she said, her voice carrying no hostility, only professional interest, "we need to have a conversation." For hours later, in a secure facility beneath Manhattan, Zextai sat across from an interrogation team that included xenobiologists, military strategists, and psychological warfare specialists. The humans didn't torture him. They did something far more effective. They showed him exactly how thoroughly his species had underestimated their prey. "Your hunting fleets," Dr. Chen began, consulting a tablet displaying Vorthack technological specifications that should have been impossible for humans to obtain. "They operate on predictable patterns across 17 galaxies. Always the same approach. Identify a seemingly weak species, establish orbital superiority, land hunting parties, harvest trophies." Zextai remained silent, but his eyes betrayed his shock. "How could they know about other hunting fleets?" "We've been monitoring your communications," General Hassan explained. "Your encryption is quite sophisticated, but human cryptographers love puzzles. More importantly, we've been tracking the locations of your other operations." She activated a holographic display showing a star map with dozens of red markers. 23 active hunting operations, currently in progress across the galaxy. Hundreds of thousands of intelligent beings being slaughtered for sport by your people. The commander's composure finally broke. "How is this possible? You've known about us for less than 3 days." Dr. Chun smiled, but it wasn't a pleasant expression. Commander, you made the mistake of trying to hunt the species that invented civilization. We don't just adapt to threats. We analyze them, understand them, and then eliminate them so thoroughly that they never threaten anyone again. Meanwhile, in the launch facilities that Dr. Torres and his team had been frantically modifying, humanity prepared to carry its hunt beyond Earth's atmosphere. The captured Vorthack technology had been successfully integrated into human missile systems, creating weapons that could reach the alien mothership with enough power to threaten its integrity. But the real breakthrough had come from an unexpected source. Dr. Sarah Kim, the anthropologist who had first identified Vorthack's psychological weaknesses, had made a discovery that would change the nature of interstellar warfare forever. They're not just hunters, she reported to the Global Command Council. They're slave species. The revelation came from careful analysis of Vorthack communications and behavioral patterns. What humans had initially taken for natural predatory behavior was actually conditioned response created by an even more dangerous species that used the Vorthack as hunting proxies. The real predators call themselves the Eternal Hunt, Dr. Kim explained. They've been using species like the Vorthack to harvest other intelligent life for millions of years. The Vorthack aren't the top of their food chain. They're just another link in it. General Morrison absorbed this information with growing determination. Location of their command structure? Unknown, but Commander Zextai has been very cooperative once we explained the situation. In his holding cell, Zextai had indeed proven remarkably willing to share information once he learned that humans had discovered the existence of the Eternal Hunt. His species had served their masters for so long that the possibility of rebellion had never occurred to them, until they met a species that turned rebellion into an art form. The Eternal Hunt uses our fleets to test potential threats, he explained to his human interrogators. Species that prove too dangerous are marked for elimination by more powerful forces. Those that prove adequately submissive are harvested and added to the hunt's collection. And species that prove exceptionally dangerous. Dr. Chen asked. Zextai's expression showed something humans recognized as respect mixed with fear. None has ever existed before now. The launch came at sunset on the third day, as the Vorthack mothership began preparations to depart Earth's orbit. Missiles modified with alien technology streaked through the atmosphere, carrying warheads designed not just to damage the alien vessel, but to deliver a message that would echo across the galaxy. The first barrage was conventional, high-explosive warheads that tested the ship's defenses and demonstrated human capability to strike targets in space. The second barrage carried electromagnetic pulse weapons that disabled key systems and created gaps in the ship's armor. But the third barrage carried something unprecedented, a communication package that hijacked the Vorthack ship's own transmission systems and broadcast a message to every Vorthack vessel in the galaxy. General Morrison's face appeared on screens throughout the alien mothership as her words were translated into every language in the Vorthack database. Her message was simple and direct. This is General Sarah Morrison of the Earth Defense Force, speaking on behalf of humanity and all free species in the galaxy. You came to our world believing us to be prey. You were wrong. We are predators, and we have just added you to our hunting list. The image shifted to show footage from the battles across Earth. Vorthack warriors fleeing from human hunters, alien technology being dissected and improved by human scientists, captured Vorthack commanders providing intelligence about their entire civilization. Your hunting days are over, Morrison continued. Any Vorthack vessel that approaches a human world or any world under human protection will be destroyed. Any species that serves the Eternal Hunt will be hunted down and eliminated. We're no longer prey. We are the apex predators of this galaxy. Aboard the mothership, Supreme Commander Vexthul watched the transmission with growing horror. The humans hadn't just defeated his hunting party. They had declared war on the entire Vorthack civilization and their masters. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're receiving surrender requests from 17 hunting fleets. They're requesting immediate extraction from their current operations. Vexthal understood the implications. Word of humanity's capabilities would spread throughout Vorthack space within hours. Fear would accomplish what millions of years of conditioning had failed to prevent. His species would rebel against their masters rather than face human hunters. Send the recall, he ordered. All fleets, immediate withdrawal. Emergency protocols. But even as he spoke, he knew it was too late. The humans had lit a fire that would spread throughout the galaxy, turning prey species into predators and slaves into rebels. On Earth, in the rebuilt command center at NORAD, General Morrison watched the Vorthack mothership begin its retreat with cold satisfaction. Around her, human scientists and engineers worked on projects that would have been impossible to imagine a week earlier. Faster-than-light communication systems based on alien technology, weapons capable of striking targets across interstellar distances, and, most importantly, ships that could carry human hunters to every corner of the galaxy. Phase 4 authorization? Colonel Park asked. Morrison studied the star maps showing Vorthack hunting operations across dozens of worlds. Millions of intelligent beings were dying while she watched, victims of a predatory culture that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. Authorized, she said. Launch the liberation fleets. Humanity's transition from prey to apex predator was complete. But more than that, humans had discovered their true purpose in the galaxy. Not just to survive and thrive, but to hunt down and eliminate any species that preyed on the weak and innocent. The Great Hunt had begun, and this time, humanity would be the predators pursuing prey across the stars. The Vorthack and their masters had awakened something that would reshape the balance of power in the galaxy forever. In the depths of space, ancient species that had ruled through fear and predation for millions of years began to receive reports of impossible victories by creatures they had dismissed as weak prey. They learned, too late, that there are some species that should never be hunted. Humanity had taken its place at the top of the galactic food chain. And, unlike the predators they replaced, humans hunted not for sport or dominance, but for justice and the protection of those who could not protect themselves. The age of the Great Hunt was over. The age of human justice had begun. Across the galaxy, predator species learned to fear the sound of human hunting horns, carried on signals that traveled faster than light, and brought a simple message. The hunters had become the hunted. And humanity was very, very good at hunting,